Sacred Sites with Steve Ray. Here on Morning Joy, where truth matters.
Welcome back to Morning Joy, where truth matters. I'm Keith Downey, your host, and welcome back to another Sacred Sites with Steve Ray, where we get to explore the holy and historical significance of sacred sites around the world. And our guide, Steve Ray. Good morning, Steve.
Good to be with you today. And last time we went with Mary and John to Ephesus. And today we're going to go further west. We're going to step into the water, and we're going to go about an hour helicopter ride or a 3 to 4 hour ferry ride out to the island of Patmos, because John, who was the bishop of the seven churches, you've heard of the seven churches of Revelation. They're Ephesus and Smyrna, Pergamum, Thyatira, Sardis, Philadelphia, and Laodicea. And those were his dioceses. Those were he was the bishop, and those were all under his care. So when he's on the island of Patmos, he writes a letter back to each one of them. And it's kind of fun when I go there and I'm at the Pergamum. I pretend like I'm a runner, and I come running over the hills and come to my group and say, I have a message from your Bishop John, who's now incarcerated on the island of Patmos. But so I'm going to first, as if John went there. John was arrested because of the word of God and the testimony of Christ. And he was a faithful follower of Jesus Christ. And under some of the emperors, of course, there was great persecution, and under Domitian, he was put out there. And I used to feel sorry for John being sent out to this penal colony. But when I first landed there, I said, holy smokes, this is a beautiful resort island. And it's a lovely place to go. You can go spend your summer vacation there. But it wasn't like that when John was sent there. It was a stark island. It was a penal colony. They would send prisoners over there, exile them. So they would have put him on a boat, and he would have gone over there. Now, I have been there, arrived several ways. I've arrived by helicopter, which I'm going to do with you in a few minutes. And I've arrived there. We chartered our own boat to go out there to do filming of the life of Mary. And we've also arrived there probably 10 or 12 times on a cruise ship that we take our groups out on. And we arrive. That's the nicer of the ways to arrive, by the way, on the cruise ship. But John is put out there, and there's a cave up on the side of the mountain, and it's called the Cave of John the Theologian. The island is Greek Orthodox. There's no Christians, Catholics there. They're all Greek Orthodox, and there's little churches all over. And in that cave is where John stayed during his exile. We don't know how long he was there. And today it is a Greek Orthodox church. You have to stoop when you go in, and it's a lovely little cave. And so he was out there for a while, and then after the end of the reign of Domitian, one of the really terrible emperors who really decimated Christians and a lot of persecutions, he was brought back. Now, I'm going to take you there from our perspective. Well, first of all, let's say the island's only about 13 square miles, so it's not a big island. It's an island of Greece, although it's very close to Turkey. And I'm going to take you by helicopter. We had to go out there to scout it out and to see where I was going to film all my sites. And we also bring groups there. So we got in a helicopter, a little helicopter, and it only had enough fuel to go one way. And so we had to put in 20 gallons in plastic containers of helicopter fuel in the storage little area, because it's a little tiny one. It only hold my wife and myself and a couple guys. So off that helicopter went. It was about an hour ride through the Greek islands, and it didn't go very high. It stayed low. So we were going zooming around the islands, and I got a lot of pictures I took, as we come zoom around one island and another island. Finally, we land on the shore about an hour later. And there was a farmer there, and he made his own wine, and he had his own animals, and he had just made a big meal. So he invited us out like under the trees on a picnic table, and he gave us his homemade wine. I didn't let the helicopter driver drink any, but the rest of us had some of his wine. And then we put the new fuel in, saw the island, and then we flew back before dark. So when we go with our groups, we get off the ship, and it's a lovely area on the shore. There's a lot of shops and coffee shops and souvenir shops. You get icons there that you can't get anywhere else in the world, and they're icons of John on the island of Patmos receiving the revelation. Now, some people refer to the book of Revelation as Revelations, but the real name is singular. It's the book of Revelation. And it opens with Jesus introducing himself to Paul to John. And he says, let's see here. Oh, he just says that John says, I'm on the island of Patmos and I saw Jesus. Now, see, this is interesting because John had his head on Jesus's breast at the upper room. And he was friendly. It was Jesus's buddy, they're young John and James. Now Jesus appears as this terrifying, all white, glowing, and as John said, he fell at his feet. So this is a Jesus being presented in a much different way now. He's being presented as the King of the universe and the resurrected Christ, and this white hair and all this is very terrifying for people to see the first time. Well, anyway, so John is out there and he has this revelation. It took place up in this cave. And when we take people up into the cave, we get in line, we explain to them what they're going to see. And for some people, this cruise that we go on, we hit 10 biblical sites. A lot of people last October said this was their favorite site, that it just brought the Bible to life and the book of Revelation. They felt like they knew John after being there. And we have to duck and go into this cave. It's a little bit dark, but they have oil lamps like the Greek Orthodox do. And first thing on the left, there's all these Greek books, Bible, their lectionary, their prayer books, and they're chanting in Greek. It's something you got to hear to believe and experience. And then we walk around and they show us where John laid his head when he was sleeping. And there's beautiful icons of John, like I was saying on the shoreline that you can buy these, of John laying, kind of looking up, and you see Jesus coming down with a sword coming out of his mouth, because that's how he presents himself in the book of Revelation, when he writes to the 7 churches and then explains everything that's going to happen at the end of time. And John, you always see a secretary with him. His name is Prochorus, and it's spelled like Prochorus. And that's the name of one of the first original 7 deacons. So the early Christians believe that one of them went out with John as his amanuensis, which is a fancy word for a secretary, and he wrote. Whenever the New Testament refers to the word ink, it's just the word black. I had ink and black. It's kind of interesting because they just had to get black from soot or from burned ivory or coal, and they would dip it in there and with a quill or a reed and write. It was a very tedious and expensive process to write. So that letter being written from there was quite a deed to be done. Well, after we go in that cave where nobody wants to leave because this chanting and the atmosphere in that little cave only holds about 100 people if you pack them into the door, and you have to stoop because people whack their heads on the ceilings of the cave. That's why I always wear, one of the reasons I wear a hat, because with a hairdo like this, you don't want to be whacking your head on the top of caves on the roof. So you're just kind of squatting down and go around and see all these. Really, it's a fascinating cave. And then we go up to the top of the mountain, to the very top, where there is a monastery, and it's a Greek Orthodox monastery. And it's multi-level stairs going up. It looks like something built way back in medieval times, and it was. And so when you're up there, you can look down and you can see our cruise ship down in the bay, and you get a whole beautiful view of all the white buildings with blue and doors. The colors are just spectacular. But anyway, the reason that I wanted to take you out, and I only have roughly a minute and a half left, is because when John was out there, in his revelation, it says, a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet and a crown on her of 12 stars on her head. Guess who that is? That's the Virgin Mary. And I think that Jesus gave John that revelation because remember, who took care of Mary after Jesus was dead and resurrected and go back to heaven? She had no other sons. So Jesus said, John, I want you to take care of Mom, and Mom, this is your new son, so you're going to move in and live with him. So now that Mary has been assumed into heaven, this takes place later in time, we don't know exactly the date, but it would have been after Mary's time. I think that Jesus said, hey, John, you want to know where Mom is? Look up there, you'll see her. Thanks for taking good care of Mom for me. And I think that's one of the reasons why he got this revelation. And when I wanted to bring this in because Mary was with John in Ephesus, and now we're a little further, and John sees Mary in heaven. That's one of the reasons I went out to the island of Patmos, because in filming our life on Mary and doing the whole end of her life, where does her life end? Well, she's assumed into heaven, and that's the only one of the mysteries of the Rosary I cannot take people to pray there, is the last one, the coronation, because we're not in heaven yet, but she is. So that's the only one of the 20 mysteries that we cannot visit yet. But there it is. It says that I saw her. I looked up and I saw the Ark of the Covenant, and behold, there was the woman clothed with the sun. And that's obviously Mary, because she is the Queen of Heaven. And what a beautiful view. So we've gone out from Ephesus to the island of Patmos, gone into the cave of St. John, which everybody loves so much, seen Mary as the Queen. Now we got to get back on the helicopter and fly back to Ephesus. And next week we're going to do St. Paul in Ephesus, because he was there. So we're going to follow St. Paul on his way to Ephesus and his experience. And the week after that, we're going to ourselves go to Ephesus, and we're going to walk through Ephesus.
Wow. Incredible. Thank you so much. Really looking forward to the next couple weeks there, Steve. Thank you so much. Catch more of Steve Ray by going to CatholicConvert.com. That's where you'll be able to find Mary, the Mother of God film that we were talking about there a little bit. So thanks again, Steve. We appreciate you.